Joanna Champion did an interview, and I was just thinking about her, by the way. I just made a video on Joanna, possibly laws of attraction, because now this video gets done and falls right into my lap, and she was talking about, look, I move pay-per-views. I'm a big female star. I used to get points. I don't get them anymore. I want a bigger piece of the pie. But then she said, but I'm not complaining. Now hold that thought. I don't know if you want to call that a complaint or you just want to call that a reservation that she has in her mind about coming back and she's starting to voice it, right? You got to start somewhere. Generally, that would start in a room alone, but perhaps this was the first guy that asked her and she started flushing and working her thoughts out. Because there was two statements there. I'm not getting enough. Hey, I'm good with what I'm getting. Okay, there's two statements there. How do we reconcile that? How do we piece that together? And what Joanna's saying is nothing new, guys. Somebody like her who speaks up, we listen a little differently though, don't we? Because we respect Joanna differently. We respect what she did, and we also acknowledge, yeah, we want to see her fight. She's right. She's going to be bringing it. Now, I just want to explain to you guys why she says, I used to get points and now I don't. When you become the champion, Dana will bring you in and he will explain to you from here on out, and you get this beautiful piece of participation. You get to be an owner only the night you're fighting, but you get to be an owner without writing a check. I've never heard or seen anything like this. I don't know how this got started in the first place. But you are going to give somebody one night only, but the night that you're on, a piece of the business, and they don't have to buy in. It is the most generous, easily the most generous thing I have ever come across. And I read books on this stuff. I study Fortune 500 companies. I have never seen generosity quite like giving somebody a piece of the business and they don't have to buy in. So I only share that with you because it is very unique. It's something that he wants to do that's sweet for the champion. He wants to sit somebody down and he wants to absolutely let them know you've done a great job. And with your great job is going to be a tremendous bonus. And here's how this is going to work. So when Joanna was champion, that stayed intact. It's a champion's clause. If you lose the championship, you no longer qualify for it. Real simple. No conversation has to be had. No manager needs to be notified. It's real straightforward and real simple. And it's exclusive for this category as long as you stay there. Very relevant, guys. Think about Henry Cejudo. Henry Cejudo left the belt. He walked away from the belt at 246, but he walked into a press conference and he said, Dana knows my number. To this day, I have never figured out, does he mean Dana knows how to reach me? He knows my number. He knows how to reach me on the phone. Is that what he meant? Or did he mean Dana knows my number, meaning Dana knows my price? And the only reason that I thought perhaps the telephone was at play is because if it was about price, that means this is about money. And when Henry puts that belt down, he automatically falls out of the championship clause participation, which is, guys, I've fought for 3 belts before. I mean, when I tell you, it can change your life. Change your life in one, you get one of those. You change your life. Henry walked away from it, which made me think, well, maybe he doesn't mean my financial number. Maybe he knows how to get me on my cellular, right? Because that's what Joanna's talking about. And Joanna didn't walk away from it. She got beaten fair and square, but she's bringing up a point. She's saying, look, I'm just as valuable. Just as many people are coming to see me. And I'm in just as featured of matches. She's right. She's right. Michael Bisping had this beautiful fight with George St. Pierre. I want to say they're at Madison Square Garden. I might be throwing that part in there. But it was George St. Pierre, the biggest draw in the sport when Chael Sonnen's not around, taking on Michael Bisping, the sitting world champion. I could only imagine what that participation would have been like for Bisping, being a title fight. Would have been beautiful. Bisping did one fight after they said, you know what, I'm out. Bisping's never spoke on this, but I'm pretty close with Bisping. And I feel as though, look, what goes up must come down. And he had such a wonderful experience that night with St. Pierre that anything else gives me, geez, what am I doing? Going backwards. Real piece of human psychology. So what do? How do you solve these problems? How do you enjoy that moment that you're in as the champion as this special clause with the most generous thing in all of business happening, which is you get a piece of it and you don't ever have to buy the check. You don't ever have to write in. buy in by writing a check. Don't, you know what I'm trying to say. Don't interrupt me. So, I believe that I'm right when I simply tell you, and there's no level of sophistication to this, make sure you have a job to go back tomorrow. In front of anything else, make sure that you have a job to go to tomorrow. And when you see somebody like Israel Adesanya, who has never bought into his own hype, never thought that he's a huge star, and as soon as he gets done with a match, he will call somebody out before he ever leaves the ring. The moment one fight ends, the marketing for the next fight begins. And whether you win or you lose, if you have a job to go to tomorrow, and you can always say that, you're in a pretty good spot. And there is some guys that have really outflown their coverage. Guys that were champions that slid. Now they got 2 and 3 losses. If you were the former champion and you fall, you are never getting that belt back. If you're the number 1 guy and you become number 4, number 6, number 7, you will never get that spot back. But then we have guys getting beat 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 times, and then they're upset when they get released. Yeah, guys, you weren't upset when you were still getting fights, even though you were losing. And losing again, falling your place on the card. The only time you got upset is when you got released. That makes sense to me. But it proves what I'm saying to you, which is the only thing you got to have is a job to come to tomorrow. So when you have these fighters that are ready, willing, and able, get into their own way, becomes hard for us, the audience, to feel bad for them. If you have a job to go to, but you're choosing not to, why should you get this much for this fight? Well, okay, you're not, but what if we do 3 fights this year and we do get you that number? Or we do no fights this year and we get you no number. You'd be stunned how many athletes will hang their hat on the hook of give me no fights. It's principle. I will do no fights and I will make no money, God damn it. And feel good about it, as opposed to over the 12 months getting the amount of money that they're discussing in the first place. Those are really accurate and fair numbers by me. Somebody that comes in with a number, well, if you want to do it 2 or 3 times, we can get you to that number. Very realistic. But if you don't want to, I don't know what we have to talk about. I put on fights. You want to talk to me about fighting? Oh, you don't want to talk about fighting? Well, then why are you talking to me? I put on fights. I mean, do you see the problem? Do you see where the push and pull comes? And I'm for sure not against Joanna, just the opposite. Huge Joanna supporter. Just sharing with you that as a former champion who will be in the Hall of Fame someday, who is now responsible for one half of the greatest and most highly watched women's fight in history, is discussing this, is part of the narrative. All those that came before her, some during her time, and plenty will come after her, making the same argument. What do we do? How do you solve the problem? And the audience knows, because you guys do it every day, which is you get up and you go to work, whether you wanted to or not, and whether you were getting what you thought or what you hoped to be getting. You went up and did it anyway, and then you come in tomorrow and you do it again. At the end of the week, there is a check that kind of rectifies and explains the whole thing, right? That seems to make sense to me. It seems to be reasonable. It seems to be the whole way the world works. But there is a psychology by many. I will do nothing. Granted, I will get nothing, and I win. That confuses me.